In this video, we're going to be a little more detailed on how to write equations of lines. And I'm going to give you an example that is commonly misunderstood. And as we work through this, just think about the steps involved. Now, it's kind of misleading. It seems like there should be there's more involved than there really is. Okay, now, this says, write the equation of a line perpendicular to y equals 2x plus 7 that passes through the point 4, negative 8. So we're given a lot of information here. Well, this equation right here is called our reference line. Okay, and it's kind of misleading because we don't need all of that information. So let's look at what we do have to write the equation of a line. There's multiple ways to do this. We usually like to get our equations to look like this: y equals mx plus b. Okay, and that's fine. We can get there. But let's start by using point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now this looks confusing to people because there's just lots of stuff there, but there's really only three things we need to determine. We need to determine a slope, and we need to determine an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate that it passes through. That's it. See, the y and the x are going to stay put. Y and x are always in those equations. Those are our variables. We just need the other three. Okay? And we have that information. Okay, let's look at this. Here's a point that the line we want happens to go through. Well, what does 4 represent? 4? 4 is an x-coordinate, so let's put it right there. And what about negative 8? What's that represent? Well, that's a y-coordinate. Let's put it right there. So we get this thing that says y minus negative 8 equals m times x minus 4. Okay, now we can clean this up just a little bit and make it y plus 8 equals m times x minus 4. And all we need to do really is figure out something for m. Well, that's what our reference line is all about, this thing up here. Okay. What I want to know is, what's the slope of that reference line? Well, the slope is this thing right here. I have a slope of 2 over 1. And if I want a line that's perpendicular to that, we just learned in a previous video that perpendicular means it's the opposite reciprocal. So perpendicular would be negative 1 over 2. So that's the slope I'm looking for. Once I figure out that slope, it's going to go right here. I don't need this anymore. That 7, completely irrelevant. It's not part of the equation. Don't try to make it that. It's just part of your reference line. It really doesn't matter. Okay? So ignore it at that point. I got my slope of negative 1/2. That's all I need. Y plus 8 equals negative 1/2 x minus 4. And now all we have to do is a little bit of algebra just to sort of move things around and adjust them to fit what we're used to seeing. So let's take this negative 1/2 and distribute it, and I get y plus 8 equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. Okay. And if I subtract 8 over to the other side with this like term, I get y equals negative 1/2 x minus 6. Okay. Now remember, up here in this problem, right there was a 7. Do you see a 7 anywhere in this problem at all? No. Unfortunately, people see all this information up there and they just try to manipulate this equation without really doing what the work requires. That equation is just showing you a line we're comparing to, an arbitrary line we're comparing it to. That's it. So all you really need to do here is use the reference line to figure out your slope, and this word here was key. And then you use the point that it goes through, and you do a little algebra, and there you go. Okay. So that's an example of one of these problems that looks a lot more complicated than it really is. Chances are most of you have done this sort of analysis before, okay, back in algebra. Here, you just have to recognize that word and how it relates to this reference line.